Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user OneChange4503. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after finding out only our side of the family were having to pay to attend? So, my younger sister, Katie, 28 female, and her partner, Chris, 29 male, are getting married in April in Dubai. She has always wanted an extravagant wedding and is going all out on this one. So, the wedding is happening over 4 days. There's 70 guests, but they want us, me, my husband, and parents, to stay in the same hotel with them along with her bridesmaids, which I am maid of honor, and groomsmen. The hotel is pretty luxurious, so with flights it's costing us just over £2,900 each. Chris's family are also staying in the hotel, which includes his parents, 2 brothers, and his nephew. They are well off. I don't know exactly how much they earn combined, but I know Katie is on $88,000 and she is the lower earner. But about 6 months ago, Chris and Katie came to us and asked to borrow $17,000 more. They stressed it would be a loan paid over time and said the venue had increased the price. Dubai law was different, blah blah blah. They paid this money or they lost the lot. We believed them and I offered to loan $7,000 and my parents the other $10,000. So long story short, I have since found out through someone else that the $17,000 wasn't for the venue. It was for Chris's family to fly over there. They saw how much it was going to be, didn't want to pay and refused to go. I asked Katie and she confirmed. So my first question was, if they were paying for his parents, why not pay for ours? I would never expect them to pay for me, even if we couldn't afford it. I'd have wished them well and stayed home. And her answer was, because they can't afford it. She got very defensive and said this was the fairest way she could think of doing it. It's hard enough planning a wedding, etc. But when I asked if you genuinely thought this was the fairest way to do it, why did you lie about what the $17,000 was for and say it was a venue issue? She couldn't answer. My parents are aware and are very disappointed they lied, but they have said they're still attending, but I have backed out. To me, it feels like my parents are being taken advantage of, and if they couldn't afford to pay for both our and Chris's parents and his brothers and nephew, then they shouldn't have just paid for the 4 parents or none at all, and they especially shouldn't have lied about it. Katie and Chris keep calling me, asking me to attend, saying I'm making them feel bad and ruining their day, but the whole thing just feels icky to me. I'm genuinely an open book, so be brutal. Am I being an a-hole here? Should I just suck it up and go? No, OP, you're not the a-hole. Let's be clear. You were lied to, you were financially manipulated, and when you confronted them with the truth, they deflected and played the "you're ruining our day" card instead of owning up to their actions. They could have scaled the wedding down or been honest, but instead, they played you. You didn't back out over money, you backed out because of disrespect. They prioritized appearances and convenience over honesty and fairness. And in the end, OP, you're not ruining anything. You're simply declining to reward manipulative behavior. And that's not cruelty, that's a boundary. So good on you for standing your ground. Stick to your decision. You've got nothing to feel guilty about. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Normal Reward 7257 says, wait a second, not only are they not paying for your parents, they're having your parents pay for his? That's like a double whammy. I don't know if you should go or not. Your choice will have a long-lasting impact on your relationship with your sister. Only you can decide if that's worth salvaging. And Dopey responds, I don't want to lose my sister over this, and I don't want to be that person who says it's the principle of the situation, but honestly, it really is. Divided Sky 58 says, please tell us that you got that $17,000 loan in writing. You know they're gonna claim it as a gift, especially after you saved so much money by not attending. And Dopey responds, oh yeah, definitely. As I said to someone else, my brother-in-law is a solicitor and he helped me draw up a contract. I'm not playing about with that amount of money. And Stranger on Reddit says, not the a-hole. It was wrong of them to lie about what the loan was for. I have to ask, besides the loan, who is paying for this elaborate wedding? And Dopey responds, they are. I know Katie has been saving for a while, and as I said, Chris earns good money too. As I understood, they had saved enough to pay for the wedding they wanted. The 10K was expected because mom and dad very generously did the same for me. But the 17K additional venue fee was unexpected, and they couldn't get that amount of money together quickly without taking out a loan, which would have cost them more in the long run. Opie's edits. Crumbs, that's a lot of comments. Thanks so much, everyone. I just wanted to answer a couple of questions and comments that have come up a lot. 1. The repayment. My husband's brother is a solicitor, and he kindly drew up a contract and repayment plan for both myself and my parents, so the money will be paid off within 12 months of the wedding. If they don't stick to this, I have access to a free solicitor. I hope it won't come to that, but that's why I have the papers for the worst case scenario. And 2, asking for the $7,000 back. I might be a soft touch, but asking for this back feels like a step too far. Like, I'm mad as hell, but not enough to actively try to ruin their wedding a few weeks before, which it feels like, right now at least, is what that would be doing. But hey, give me a few more days to stew. OP's Edit 2. Thanks again for all the feedback, everyone. Just a quick FYI, a few people have asked about Chris's family or seems to have the impression they're well off. I'm obviously not privy to their financial situation, but what the limited amount I do know from what Katie has said, Chris and his family grew up very poor. Before all this, I'd always thought Chris was a lovely guy, but I had caught him in the odd but harmless white lie. Things like where he went to school, the type of house he grew up in, etc. I get the impression he is embarrassed or resentful of his upbringing, given their lack of money, and this is how he now values his own self-worth, by how much money he has. My guess is when his family said they couldn't go, he panicked and worried people would ask why they weren't there, and he would either have to say they couldn't afford it or he couldn't afford to pay for them. And look, his past trauma and experience is not for me to judge, but if that were the case, it just makes me more mad that they both didn't plan ahead and talk to friends or family about what they could afford before booking Dubai. If it was such a deal breaker for his family to be there, they should have factored in the cost of paying for all parents to attend instead of thrusting a $3,000 per person bill at them and expecting them to rock up. And to be clear, my husband and I had a destination wedding in Italy. However, before we booked it, we did rough price checks in terms of how much it would cost everyone before we booked. We also made a list of who and what we could afford to pay for and who our non-negotiables were. It worked out in the end. We had 15 people and we paid for everyone's hotel room, and the flights were about £240 each, so we counted that as everyone's gift to us, as we figured after travel, gifts, etc., it probably wasn't far off what people would pay to attend a local wedding. But I didn't expect Katie to do the same, as I knew she was having 70 people, and at the end of the day, it's her wedding. Okay, well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and that she should either ask for the money back or take the sister to court. It's a good thing she has a contract. And we also have a lot of context about the whole story. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. It's been almost 3 months since my original post, and I had a lot of messages at the time of posting asking for an update on what I decided to do, so I wanted to check in. So in short, I didn't end up going to the wedding. Katie and Chris basically harassed me constantly until a few days before they were due to fly out. I received a belligerent voicemail from Katie saying if I didn't go, I wasn't her sister anymore. I was embarrassing myself and her and Chris. She also said that I was a horrible person, and most shockingly, if I didn't go, then her and Chris wouldn't be paying me or my parents back for the money we loaned. So trying to blackmail me. She would say it was a gift. I faked the contract and I would have to take her to court. She was clearly drunk at the time, but it was so beyond anything I thought she was capable of. The voicemail was left on the night she was having her at-home hen do, which I also obviously didn't attend, and yes, it's saved. I don't have any intention of playing it for anyone unless I absolutely had to. It's more of a worst case scenario backup. And yeah, it's backed up on multiple drives. I learned that the hard way with other stuff. Laughing emoji. I did end up sharing it with my parents, and they also reluctantly pulled out of attending. I heard through friends and family in attendance at the wedding after her and Chris were telling everyone I had alienated her from her family and told lies to our parents. That we gifted money and expected them to pay for us, etc., etc., and they made the decision to uninvite myself and my husband. Other, more insulting things were said that I don't particularly want to go into. Suffice to say they were very hurtful. As I mentioned in my post, I had my brother-in-law, a solicitor, draw up a contract for repayment for both myself and my parents. What was supposed to be the first payment date passed without word from either of them, so brother-in-law picked up from there. His attempts to reach them were ignored apart from one email from what I think was a fake law firm outlining the money was gifted, the contract was fraudulent, and to take them to court basically. In response to that, brother-in-law sent a copy of the voicemail Katie left and a final demand outlining the payment plan was now null and void and we wanted the money in full within 30 days or we would indeed be going to court. Magically, the full amount appeared in our accounts 5 days later. Chris had a decent bonus coming through just after the wedding. That was always meant to start the repayments. A formal loan was an option, but they asked family first because of how high the interest would have been and how quickly they needed the money. For the record, we're not wealthy. My husband and I both work, we don't have kids, and we live within our means. Any disposable income we have comes from saving, not overspending. My parents loaned their share from premium bonds they'd set aside. £17,000 between us wasn't nothing. That's exactly why I had a contract written up. Again, I've heard on the grapevine since the wedding, they have been telling anyone who would listen we asked for our gift back out of the blue and disowned them and how much of a difficult financial position they are in because of this. So that's that. I can't see myself having a relationship with her after this, which is devastating, but at the same time, I truly believe now, after everything, that isn't my fault. Even though she hasn't said anything online that I've seen, I've heard bits through the grapevine about what she's telling people face to face, mainly when friends or extended family ask how the wedding went. I haven't pushed for details, and no, we've never had a fallout before. I've never known her to lie to me until now. Thanks again to everyone who gave advice. I hope this update is enough for everyone who asked for one. Smiley face. OP, you didn't ruin a relationship, your sister did, just as you said. She chose lies and leverage over respect and trust. Let them tell stories. You've got the truth, integrity, and your money back. So here's wishing you the best, OP. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user particularcarib8100. Am I the a-hole for sticking with my son when my fiancé unfairly punished him? I, 38, have a son, 9, and a stepson, 8, from my current fiancé, 32. My fiancé tells me all the time that my son is rude and nasty when I'm not there and acts real bratty when he doesn't get his way, but I always give my son a chance to speak his piece. I try to give my son the benefit of the doubt. Now, my son is a really good kid but doesn't play well with others, especially loud kids who love to tease and make fun. My stepson loves to tease him to the point where he gets angry and takes matters in his own hands. While I've punished him for it, I've also punished his stepbrother for keeping it going and not respecting boundaries, which I think is fair. However, my fiancé always tries to paint it like he can dish it, but he can't take it. I happen to know that he only teases when he gets teased first, mostly because he can't tell if it's an attack or just pure fun. I don't think he really cares which, he just doesn't like it. Last Saturday, I come home from work and I find my son on punishment. And when I ask him why, he breaks down and starts crying. I see his stepbrother in the living room playing on the PS5. I asked my fiance why my son is in his room and she tells me that he was being rude and nasty to all of the kids. He was also apparently nasty to adults too at an earlier party because he lost a game. I sit him down and ask him what happened. He tells me that the whole day he avoided people who he knew were going to tease him and make fun of him because he knew that the adults would find it amusing and do nothing about it, but if he made fun of someone, my fiance would be on his ass immediately. The whole time she was making sure he didn't have too much of the food he liked while she let others gorge themselves, and she wouldn't let him play video games while she let her son and others play. Then, when they pretty much roped him into playing a board game and he lost first, he claims they cheated. I don't know if they did or not. He left into the other room immediately before they had a chance to tease him for it. He told me that he had no idea if they were going to or not, but he figured if he avoided them and ignored them, they couldn't make fun of him and he wouldn't get in trouble for snapping. He hates that it's okay to make fun and tease him if he loses, but if he does it, they flip it like he does it first. So he pretty much ignored everyone after he lost so he can hide his disappointment and not get in trouble for it. After learning this, I told him to get dressed and I took him out to Sonic's and some insomnia cookies to cheer him up, and I told him that despite most people considering what he did was rude, I thought he did nothing wrong at all. I told him they were being jerks and I was extremely proud of him for not reacting in the way he has in the past. When we came back home, I found my fiance packing her things up and taking her son to go stay with her mom for a while. I ask why, and she tells me that she can't take living with me and my spoiled brat son anymore, especially if I'm not gonna hold him accountable. It's been a week and my son is very happy, but I may have lost my fiance. Am I the a-hole for sticking with my son? Well, OP, to keep this very short, no, you're not the a-hole for standing up for him now, but if this is the first time you're standing up for him and you hadn't before, even though you knew they were already targeting him, then you're the a-hole for all those other times that you didn't. Now, regarding your fiance, I think she should become your ex-fiance. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments. ICU3075 says, I think it's a good thing for everyone that your girlfriend is moving out. I don't know if your girlfriend is this horrible step monster or if you're just a lazy parent, but it sounds like this is not a healthy environment for either kids. Odd Knowledge 2146 says, why are you allowing your son to be belittled and bullied at home by your partner and her feral offspring? You need to step up and be a dad. Your son deserves so much better than you leaving him alone with his tormentors. Deleted says, you're the a-hole for allowing your son to be emotionally abused for this long. Stop treating it like a trivial thing. Do you really think that taking him out is going to magically cure him of the emotional scars your fiancé inflicted? Do you really think that your son will fully trust you again after you allowed this woman and her son to bully him in his own home? Get him a counselor or a therapist. He sure as hell isn't going to be okay after this. Well, the community isn't between not the a-hole and you're the a-hole, but everybody agrees that the fiancé sucks and should disappear. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. So I sat down and talked to my son's friend's mother, who was at the party my ex-fiancé embarrassed my son at. I was told that my son didn't even want to play any games with my ex-fiancé's son or any other kid because he knew he wasn't liked and he knew what was gonna happen, but he was made to play anyway. She told me that my ex-fiancé went to the spot where he was sitting and roughly made him stand up and walk to the area where they were playing the game because he was too grown for sitting it out. She also told me that the other guys were purposely sabotaging him while their parents looked on, and he went back to his spot when they were busy celebrating and got furious when he wasn't there to make him shake their hand. Now, I don't care how my son reacted at this point. This is the second person from that event that told me my son tried to avoid the drama so he wouldn't get teased for losing and punished for getting mad at it, and he was made to anyway. I have an issue with people being made into a bad guy when they try to avoid the situation altogether, and I'm convinced that some people just like having fun at other people's expenses just because they don't fit in. I don't care what you guys say, I'll never let that happen to my boy again, ever. Well, it'll be good for you for ending that toxic relationship and good for you for deciding to stick up for your son always. Hopefully you and your son can work on the trust part because you did fall short in the beginning, but now that you're aware of it, you can make it better. So here's wishing you the best, OP. Take care and thanks for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.